This is CBC Winnipeg News.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. Air Canada is apologizing to the National Chief of the Assembly of First Nations after staff tried to stow her headdress in cargo before a flight this week. Cindy Woodhouse-Nepenak was boarding a plane from Montreal to Fredericton when she says she was forced to hand over the container holding her headdress. CBC's Karen Pauls has the latest.
National Chief Cindy Woodhouse-Nepenak received this headdress New Year's Day, honoring her role in the historic $43 billion Indigenous Child Welfare Agreement. The eagle feathers blessed to support her in her travels and her challenges.
It's like your child, like your baby. It's with you. It's part of you.
Wednesday night was the first time she had problems traveling with it on a small Dash 8 plane from Montreal to Fredericton.
They wanted to put it down below, and of course, it's got cultural significance to me. And, in that point, I was kind of stunned.
After some heated discussion, the container was sent to cargo. Woodhouse-Nepenak held the headdress on her lap. She later posted about it on Facebook, prompting anger, outrage, and demands for an apology.
Cindy felt, she was violated. She felt, a dagger through her heart.
Leonard Weasel Traveller gifted the headdress to the National Chief on behalf of the Piikani Nation. He says items like this are sacred and need to be handled accordingly.
Perhaps that was just a staff member doing their job and just not having this awareness.
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said it was an unacceptable mistake.
It is an unfortunate situation that I hope is going to lead to a bit of learning, not just by Air Canada, but a lot of different institutions.
In a statement, Air Canada says it has reached out directly to speak with National Chief Woodhouse-Nepenak to better understand and apologize for her experience. The case was difficult to carry in the cabin due to stowage space limitations. The headdress itself remained in the cabin with the chief. But the airline says it will review its policies to make sure special items like this can travel with the customer. Woodhouse-Nepenak and her headdress made it home. The National Chief says despite the disrespect and humiliation she felt, she's encouraged by the support from Indigenous and non-Indigenous Canadians, seeing it as a step towards reconciliation. Karen Pauls, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Today is a National Day of Mourning. People gathered at City Hall and Memorial Park in Winnipeg to honor Manitobans who've died or suffered injury or illness at work. 22 Manitobans died in 2023 and thousands more were injured. The CBC's Rosanna Hempel reports.
Gilbert Dagno died from injuries received on the job.
22 Manitobans died of workplace illnesses and injuries last year. The youngest was 19.
Preston Heinbigner.
7 others are being remembered too, some of whom weren't accepted as workplace-related deaths until now.
This year's theme is very timely. We've been hearing a lot from people who work on the front lines of our healthcare system about what they're experiencing, as well as so many first responders.
People gathered at City Hall and others marched along Broadway to Memorial Park. There, families, friends, government and union officials held a moment of silence. Barry Swan was at the ceremony. His son Todd Metoyashing died on a northern Manitoba job site in 2018.
The numbers are still alarming. That's why this day is important to me. So the numbers go down. It's sad, and everyone has to make a living.
Kevin Rebeck with the Manitoba Federation of Labour says the numbers haven't changed much in 10 years. He told the crowd injuries are climbing in healthcare and the public sector.
The injury rate in healthcare is among the highest of all major sectors, 60% higher than the average.
This year's theme acknowledged the increase in injuries from workplace violence. Rebeck says psychological injuries are on the rise too. He says his organization is pushing the Workers' Compensation Board to expand coverage.
We need WCB rules to change to say when you're injured at work, you get coverage. It should be that clear, and it shouldn't matter what type of mental health injury occurs. If it's a workplace mental health injury, you're covered.
The WCB says coverage for psychological injuries has recently been expanded. Meanwhile, Barry Swan applauds the show of support to make workplaces safer, but calls on employers and governments to step up their work.
Something has to be done to prevent all these high numbers.
So families don't have to mourn this day each year. Rosanna Hempel, CBC News, Winnipeg.
The executive director of Lions Housing Centres is bristling at a report on its sale of Lions Place, calling it slander. A report was released this week by the Canadian Centre for Policy Alternatives on the sale of the former 55-plus building on Portage Avenue. The report called the sale a case of organizational elder abuse. But Lions Housing Centre says no one conducting the study ever reached out to them.
We're blindsided by this. So nobody from their organization ever contacted the board of directors and members. Myself, they can do all the audits they want. I'd love them to look at it, because guess what? Bring it on, because they'll see what we do for our residents. And we go above and beyond.
He says in defense of the nonprofit and charity, it invested $3.6 million in repairs to the more than 30-year-old building. It also subsidized rents for 3 years. But with the low rents and vacant suites, he says Lions couldn't afford to keep the building. Winnipeg has lost out on a $1.6 billion manufacturing facility. As CBC's Bartley Kivez reports, it's going to Ontario instead.
Ontario Premier Doug Ford trying out some tools on Thursday at a Honda plant in Alliston, Ontario, where the Japanese automaker announced a $15 billion plan to build a series of electric vehicle factories.
These investments will create well over 1,000 well-paying manufacturing jobs.
It's a tremendous win for Ontario, for our workers, for all of Canada.
Well, maybe not all of Canada. Part of Honda's plans include a joint venture with Japanese multinational Asahi Kasei. They're going to build a $1.6 billion lithium-ion separator plant together somewhere in Ontario. The plant will produce components for Honda's electric vehicle batteries.
Ontario wasn't the only jurisdiction Asahi Kasei was looking at. The Japanese manufacturer was considering building its lithium-ion separator plant right here in Winnipeg on this parcel of city-owned land.
Council voted in January to declare this land, south of the West End Water Pollution Control Centre, surplus to the city's needs. The City of Winnipeg, the Province of Manitoba, and Economic Development Winnipeg were hoping to lure the plant here. None of those entities would come on camera to talk about how it slipped away. They all issued statements insisting Winnipeg and Manitoba are competitive places for clean energy investments, thanks to an abundance of critical minerals and inexpensive hydroelectricity. Ryan Kuffner, President and CEO of Economic Development Winnipeg, said Manitoba's strengths as a competitive location for battery supply chain investment are increasingly recognized internationally. According to Asahi Kasei, the governments of Ontario and Canada are providing financial support for its plant, using part of $5 billion worth of government incentives for the larger Honda electric vehicle project. Winnipeg and Manitoba didn't disclose what, if any, incentives were on offer here. As for the land in southwest Winnipeg, it's back on the market, in case anyone needs 500 acres of unserviced land near a sewage treatment plant. Bartley Kivez, CBC News, Winnipeg.
2 community organizations are teaming up to strengthen their services to people in Winnipeg's downtown. The Bear Clan Patrol has partnered with the Women's Health Clinic to start working out of its facility. This will be the Bear Clan's new headquarters. The space in the Graham Avenue building will be used as a patrol hub for community care, meeting space, and offices. It will also offer safe walk services to Women's Health Clinic clients and staff. The Bear Clan will begin to operate out of the clinic as soon as possible.
For us, this is fundamental. For us, this is a fundamental work around community. This is about community health, where people living in the community and people working in the community can come together to get to know each other, to understand each other better, to provide passionate care that people need in a real way, and making communities safer and healthier for everyone.
The Bear Clan's old headquarters on Selkirk Avenue is permanently closed. They'll still continue to work in West Broadway and West End neighbourhoods. The provincial government is taking more heat for its criteria for allowing foreign workers into the province. This week, Manitoba conducted a draw for international students graduating from post-secondary schools. But it limited that draw to people with at least 4 years of work experience in the past 5 years. Sarah Sun is a recent grad from China who joined a protest on the steps of the legislature yesterday. She worries her family will have to leave the country if they don't obtain permanent residency.
Upset. I feel very upset, and I think even though I got my English score and I found a job, it means nothing. Yeah, I feel very stressful because I have a son. He is 10 years old. Actually, I now feel very good in Canada, but my son loves here very much. He said, Mom, I don't want to come back home. I like Canada, I like my teacher, my classmates, and my tennis club. Yeah, but I feel very sad.
The province says more draws will be held in the coming weeks, exclusively for international grads with less work experience. A Winnipeg father has been found guilty of manslaughter in the 2020 death of his infant son. Matthew Morrow was home alone with the 3-month-old when the baby was found unresponsive. CBC's Caitlin Gowerluck was in court for the decision, and a warning: some of the details are distressing.
3-month-old Maven Gillis Moreau was likely either shaken, hit, or thrown before being rushed to hospital with a traumatic brain injury in 2020. That's according to a judge who convicted the baby's father of manslaughter in the death in a Winnipeg courtroom Friday morning. The judge found Matthew Moreau was evasive and inconsistent in his denials, and at times appeared to be making up testimony to make it seem like the injury had happened before he got home to watch his son that day. Maven was found unresponsive on January 11, 2020, while Moreau was home alone with him. Prosecutors argued Moreau was frustrated the baby wouldn't fall asleep that night and violently assaulted him. Moreau was also found not guilty of assault for a separate injury to the infant a day before. A sentencing date for the manslaughter charge hasn't been set. Caitlin Gowerluck, CBC News, Winnipeg.
A monument honoring the victims of last year's deadly bus crash near Carberry is planned for a Dauphin City Park. The city's mayor, David Boziak, says the monument will be unveiled on June 15th, the 1-year anniversary of the crash. The collision at the intersection of Highway 5 and the Trans-Canada Highway left 17 people dead and 8 others injured. Many victims were from the Dauphin area.
There was so much history that was lost that day with those folks, and it was just such a shock to so many of us. So I think it's just a reminder that we lost a lot of good people that day, and they'll never be forgotten.
Boziak says a group of family members approached City Council about establishing a memorial. He says they've been working with a local manufacturer on the monument's design. Winnipeg Blue Bomber great Andrew Harris will retire as a member of the Blue and Gold. After helping the Argonauts to their 2022 Grey Cup win, Harris is signing a 1-day contract this weekend with the Winnipeg franchise. As a Bomber, Harris earned a series of accolades between 2016 and 2021. He won 2 Grey Cups with the Bombers and became the CFL's all-time leading Canadian rusher. Before going pro, he played high school football right here in Winnipeg.
It was a dream come true for me to become a Bomber. The memories while I was here, the growth of the team from 2016 to 2021, and where the team is at now. I mean, they're the top of the league, and I really felt like being a part of that from 2016 on was a big part of my career.
Harris will formally sign the 1-day contract tomorrow. He'll be at the Met for a red carpet event for the premiere of a documentary about his life called Running Back Relentless. CBC weather specialist Riley Laychuk in now. And Riley, it's not quite football season yet. We're still in hockey season, and we hope that hockey season goes on for many more weeks. But boy, a difference today from what we've seen for those 22 temperature days that we had earlier this week.
And the dust
Yes.
from yesterday. Yes, the rain today definitely helping kind of keep that dust down a little bit, which was kind of nice, and it smelled like rain outside, which was also very nice. Looking at satellite radar, yes, we are still in the rain here in southern Manitoba, starting to taper off a little bit back to the west. So areas like Brandon through Verdun starting to see that rain start to taper off. But yes, here in the Red River Valley, we're still under the rainfall here. Even some heavier pockets of precipitation through extreme southern Manitoba and just outside the city of Winnipeg. So yes, we can expect that to continue as we get into the evening hours tonight, into the overnight period. The rain, for the most part, even by about 9-10 o'clock, does start to taper off, but we'll still see periods of showers or even some drizzle as we head through the overnight hours tonight. Risk of that most likely Portage-La Prairie east into the Red River Valley. For Saturday, even by the lunch hour, we start to see some clearing already. So areas like Brandon, Verdun, Melita, Dauphin, seeing some clearing already through the overnight period into Saturday morning. For the Red River Valley, we don't start to see that clearing until we get into the late afternoon, early evening. So yes, we will see some sun tomorrow. It might not be, though, till we get later into the afternoon, Saturday into Sunday. Sunday, mainly sunny skies across the province and not as windy, but then we see our next weather maker start to move in. An area of instability out of the state starts to push further to the north, and temperature dependent, at least this forecast modeling suggesting that we could even see some mixing or some light flurries, because yes, we will see temperatures, especially first thing Monday morning, close to that freezing mark. So we'll keep our eye on that. Might not quite be done with the snow, albeit very short-lived, if that. 48-hour rainfall projection. Yes, another 3 to 5 millimeters. Most of the rain has started to taper off, but we will start to see some of scattered showers or some drizzle through the overnight period tonight. The winds do pick up as we get into the day. On Saturday, looking first thing in the morning, you can see Portage-La Prairie through the Interlake north winds gusting to 60 or 70. That is important. We'll talk about that in just a moment. We will see winds 40 to 50 in terms of gusts for the Red River Valley through Saturday, and really tapering off as we get into Sunday. And like I said, that wind is important because there is the risk that we could see some ice pileup happening, especially along the south basin of Lake Manitoba and the shorelines near Gimli and Victoria Beach. Those north winds could push some of that ice off the lakes onto shore, especially when we see those gusts over 60 and even close to 70 as we head through the early part of Saturday. So right now 9 degrees. Yes, we've seen our temperature kind of fall off as we get through the day today. We're going to get down to 5 overnight tonight. Some scattered showers still first thing in the morning, getting up to a high of 9 in the afternoon tomorrow. And we're looking at a 9 for Sunday as well. A few more showers Monday, Tuesday, Brittany, and we start May on a sunny note at 13 degrees.
Riley, a lot of people want to see that minus sign go away so they can get gardening.
Exactly.
Thank you, Riley.
You're welcome.
CBC is hearing from Burton Cummings for the first time about a dispute between himself and a band touring under the name The Guess Who. Cummings was the lead singer of the original iconic band, but 2 members of that original group have been using the songs for their shows. This month, Cummings ended the performance rights agreement for songs he and Randy Bachman wrote while with the band.
Now the fake band has gone and re-recorded new fake versions of the classic songs. And not once has the fake band applied for or paid for a sync license.
A synchronization license is an agreement between a user and the owner of the song's copyright. Since Cummings pulled the rights to his songs, the other band has canceled shows. Cummings says he's still happy to grant access to his songs to those who ask, and he doesn't rule out a return to Winnipeg where he will play those songs himself. Coming up, an investigation now underway after online video show an Ontario police officer appearing to agree with protesters outside an event where the Prime Minister was speaking, how his actions could have jeopardized Justin Trudeau's safety. More on that after the break.
A new arrival alarms the Brotherhood of Muscle. Muscular features signal power and performance. Attributes they've never seen in this build. Behold, a new breed. Ready to swarm. Ready to sting. Ready to electrify. The defiant, power-packed hybrid electric Dodge Hornet RT. Performance electrified.
Play safe with our safer gambling tools, including deposit limits, SafeMate, and timeout.
Feel the fun, play Mojo. Abbiamo vinto. Chega, 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 chega. Che fa così. Chega, 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 chega.
Crispy and tangy. The Cuban Crunch, part of the new globally inspired Subway series. Loving the uncommon is a wonderful thing we have in common.
The province of Manitoba produces a unique specimen, the Manitoba driver. Adaptable, resilient, but some are easily distracted.
Everything says turn right.
By technology.
Turn left. No!
By friends.
So proud of you.
And by phones. Oh dear. Even with steep fines or penalties, some Manitoba drivers continue to be distracted.
When my hearing changed, Hearing Life understood. I don't just want to keep hearing my friends. I want to keep being me.
Book a free hearing test with one of our hearing professionals and see how our personalized care can help you keep being you. Love your ears at Hearing Life.
Do you have any old working fridges or freezers you want to get rid of in your home? Let our appliance recycling program take them off your hands. We'll pick them up and recycle them for free, and you'll receive a $30 rebate for each one. While we're there, we can also pick up any working dehumidifiers, window air conditioners, bar fridges, or small-sized freezers at no cost. You'll save on your energy bills and free up space, all while helping the environment. Before you recycle an appliance, check Efficiency Manitoba first.
It's the final weekend of the Save the Tax event at Leon's. Get amazing deals on furniture, plus save the tax. Save big on select mattresses, plus save the tax. And save the tax when you buy 2 or more select major appliances. Final weekend to save the tax.
Ontario Provincial Police say they're investigating an officer's actions. It comes after video was posted online showing a police officer appearing to agree with protesters outside an event with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. CBC's Kate McKenna reports.
He's already here. Do you know where he'll be coming out?
He came in this way and then just U'd in, so.
An Ontario provincial police officer sharing details about the Prime Minister's movements Thursday at an event in Alliston, Ontario, with a protester.
Probably come back out.
Do me a favor?
Yeah.
I'm on board with you guys.
Yeah.
But just no profanity.
CBC News reached out to the officer but didn't receive a reply. In the video, he's heard repeatedly agreeing with what the protester says.
I'm pretty sure, especially with the catch and release program and officers getting shot for guys that are already out on violent crimes. Not too many people are with Justin Trudeau at this.
The video spread online, prompting questions about whether police should be sharing political opinions and whether he compromised the Prime Minister's safety.
He's expressed his own personal opinions on a certain matter to obtain favor with the demonstrators, and that's inappropriate for a police officer to do that. You have to remain neutral. And he's also potentially compromised operational information. Now, I don't know if it was obvious where the PM went in or out, but he also disclosed the fact that where the PM actually drove in.
The OPP says it's reviewing what happened.
The video has raised concerns about professionalism and depicts opinions that are not in line with the OPP's values.
The Prime Minister says he won't comment on security measures.
I think it's important to emphasize and understand that the right to protest is really important. In a democracy, your freedom to disagree with the government is something we perhaps take for granted here in Canada.
The RCMP wouldn't comment on this specific incident, but says it's continuously reviewing the measures in place to protect the Prime Minister. Kate McKenna, CBC News, Ottawa.
A UN report is drawing a worrying connection between girls, eating disorders, and social media. The CBC's Deanna Sumanak-Johnson has the story.
Kelly Dines noticed her teen daughter's behavior start to change during the pandemic. She was spending more time online.
This increased desire to do fitness classes online or go out for a jog, and then all of a sudden food content was being pushed to her phone because she was searching up recipes, and then she took this interest in cooking, which is all typical symptoms of the beginning of disordered eating behavior.
Being in and out of hospitals over the past 4 years for anorexia treatment interrupted the teen's education.
She should be graduating from grade 12 this year.
A growing concern worldwide, according to a new report from UNESCO.
So girls are much more affected by social media, negatively affected. Images in particular, the body image, the feelings and the emotions this causes are far higher for girls than for boys. That also has negative impact on learning.
The latest report pulls together existing studies, including World Health Organization's report that found teen girls' mental health is under greater strain than that of boys, and Facebook's own research that says 32% of teenage girls said that when they felt bad about their bodies, Instagram made them feel worse, a trend doctors have been noting for years.
There are certain gender norms and certain stereotypes that are inherent in our society that are magnified in these algorithms and on social media. And the same way that young girls were affected by the teen magazine and the articles in our generation. So if you have a phone and you have social media on your phone, you can get it anytime, whereas you wouldn't always have a magazine. So it's the volume and the intensity of the information.
Experts say banning or restricting specific social media apps may not be the best solution. Teens will just find other platforms. They hope raising awareness of the harms may help parents have more honest conversations with their kids. Deanna Sumanak-Johnson, CBC News, Toronto.
The Sarnia, Ontario First Nation, currently plagued by air pollution concerns, woke up to a state of emergency today. First Nation officials announced it late yesterday, a week after urging action on benzene pollution. Preliminary monitoring data indicate high levels. The First Nation blames a plastics chemical plant next door. That company plans a temporary shutdown for maintenance and a mechanical issue. It also faces Environment Ministry orders related to benzene levels and monitoring them. More Canadians are living in poverty. That's according to fresh data released by Statistics Canada. And many are having a tough time putting food on the table. Nisha Patel reports.
Food banks across the country are busier than ever. Demand is soaring as Canadians struggle to make ends meet.
I see it every day here. The number of people we're serving is going up every month. So for the past 2 years, the number of people we have served has gone up month over month. So from about 1,000 a week to now over 5,000 a week.
The trend has been getting worse in recent years. New numbers from StatsCan show almost 1 in 4 people can't afford the food they need. That's nearly 8.7 million Canadians who faced food insecurity in 2022, increasing by a staggering 2 million people from the year before.
We're on a single income right now, and I was also in school on loans, and so things were very, very tight.
It comes as incomes shrink. The median after-tax income falling to a little more than $70,000 in 2022 as benefits related to the COVID-19 pandemic were discontinued. Meanwhile, soaring inflation and surging mortgage and rent prices hit hard.
This challenge we're facing right now isn't hitting all Canadians equally. It's people who can least afford it, who have the least protection against higher prices and higher housing costs and so on, and these numbers absolutely confirm it. Meanwhile, at the other end of things, at the top end of the scale, we've seen incomes be very strong. In fact, in 2022, the year that this report covers, we actually saw the highest corporate profits in Canada as a share of GDP ever.
Experts say there need to be improvements in how benefits are paid out.
We've got many examples in Canada where people who are receiving welfare, those payments are not indexed to inflation. So over the last few years, they've become systematically poorer.
The difficult circumstances are pushing more Canadians into poverty. New immigrants, families with just one parent, and people with a disability are especially at risk. StatsCan says nearly 10% of the population now lives below the poverty line. Nisha Patel, CBC News, Toronto.
An Egyptian delegation is reportedly in Israel trying to restart Gaza truce talks. And in Washington, the White House says it senses momentum. Today's report, though, says there are no new Israeli offers. And yesterday, Hamas dismissed the most recent ones. It all comes amid signs Israel's long-promised Rafah assault could be imminent. Tanks were operating near the border yesterday. Wednesday, reports said the military was ready, awaiting only the government's green. Aid groups have consistently said a Rafah offensive would spell humanitarian disaster. Still ahead, it's almost time to get gardening. Riley has some tips on the growing season ahead and your Manitoba forecast when we come back.
Welcome to an electric car commercial. Wait, that is a Subaru. Where are you taking me? Electric vehicles belong in the city. They are quiet, pristine, but this is exceptionally capable. This is good, clean fun. The all-electric Subaru Solterra.
Jackpot City is the home of all things casino. There's just one house rule to create the perfect online casino for you. We built a world-class lineup of classic casino games such as roulette and blackjack, and crafted a virtual range of the best slots, including Atlantean treasures. Everything's online, everything's ready, everything's for you. So whenever you're feeling playful, head to Jackpot City and you'll be endlessly entertained. Jackpot City, casino games perfectly made for you.
The road to opportunity is often the road overlooked. At Enterprise Mobility, we guide companies to unique solutions from our team of mobility experts. Because we believe the more ways we all have to move forward, the further we'll all go.
They say it could see the future.
And it can live for decades.
With outstanding safety and longevity, you can always trust the new Subaru Crosstrek, the true urban legend.
The province of Manitoba produces a unique specimen, the Manitoba driver. Adaptable, resilient, but some are easily distracted.
Everything says turn right.
By technology.
Turn left. No!
By friends.
So proud of you.
And by phones. Oh dear. Even with steep fines or penalties, some Manitoba drivers continue to be distracted.
It's the final weekend of the Save the Tax event at Leon's. Get amazing deals on furniture, plus save the tax. Save big on select mattresses, plus save the tax. And save the tax when you buy 2 or more select major appliances. Final weekend to save the tax.
Well, Riley, the warm spring we've had surely has many of us wanting to get into the gardens and, of course, those flower beds.
But it might be a little bit earlier yet.
Yeah.
Yes. I stopped by Chalmerdines in Headingley yesterday to talk about the growing season ahead. Have a look. Chad Labby from Chalmerdines, thank you for your time. First, I want to ask you, how's the spring season been so far for you guys?
It's been pretty good. It's a bit of an earlier season than it was last year, and yeah, we're looking forward to another exciting gardening season.
What are people itching to buy so far?
Everything. When we get early springs like this, people are coming into the garden center and they're looking to grab stuff now. So it is a little early to be getting stuff, but if there's a few things that you're really keen on getting, we do run out of stuff at some points for some specialty items, so I would collect those few things now.
Yeah, for sure. What do people need to know in terms of when? Because I know, yes, we have had a bit of a warmer spring. Should people start getting into the gardens now, or is it still a little bit too early?
There's lots you can do out in the gardens now. Planting isn't one of them yet, but getting out, doing some pruning, cleaning up the leaves and debris from last year, raking the lawn, amending soil, getting your soil tested to prepare for the gardening season, and then planting, visiting the garden center and seeing what's new this year, what might fit into those holes that you've got, and those are a few of the things that you could be doing now.
What is new this year? What should people be looking out for, I guess, as we're going into the planting season?
Sure. In annual categories, there's lots of new petunias again this year, so different colors and different modeling on the petunias, and of course the coleus family is a big one to watch for too. Very similarly to hostas, there's going to be hundreds of different varieties of coleus. We'll carry 55 or so different varieties, but they're pretty cool and exciting to see and give you different textures and colors.
What's the benefit, I guess, of shopping in a local place where things are kind of grown here?
Sure. Shopping in a local place, aside from annuals, when you're shopping here, you're ensuring that you're buying things that are appropriate to your zone. You're buying things that you know are going to be hardy and true. Shopping in a local place also gives you probably a bigger spectrum of plant material as well to look at, and you're talking with professionals in the industry.
What should people know, I guess? I know that, yes, as I mentioned, we had a bit of a warmer spring, but what should people know, I guess, before they get into the gardens? Like, is there like an optimal temperature that people can start planting flowers like these in their flower beds?
So greenhouse grown items can't be placed outside until after frost free. So that in Winnipeg is typically about the May long weekend or thereabouts. In some seasons it's a little bit earlier, some seasons a little bit less. Even if you've got a greenhouse grown perennial that will be hardy over winter in the future, if it was greenhouse grown this spring and you're buying it now, it can't get frost until it's gone through that summer. So those are some important points to watch for. That doesn't mean you can't buy them now, take them home, and leave them on the deck and bring them in if there's going to be a frost, or throw them in the garage for the night if there's going to be a frost, but just don't put them in the ground yet.
Yeah, so we're still a little bit too early yet for putting stuff in the ground.
That's right.
As much as everyone's kind of itching.
We want to. Yeah, not yet.
What should people know before they come out?
Know the dimensions of the area you're working with. Take a few photos, maybe grab the tape measure and just have an idea of space. So we always get questions as, what can I put here? Well, you go, well, how much space do you have? And then you kind of scratch your head. So know the dimensions of the area you're looking to plant into, and bring photos. That really helps us in the garden center to see the application as to what things are going into, and we can help more.
Yeah. May Long, I mean, just around the corner, but how excited are you guys already that things are blooming in here?
Spring is amazing in the greenhouse, and we get teased a little bit. We're spoiled because we see that in early April, even when the temperatures are warm and you're in the greenhouse and you're planting. It's you get that spring fever for sure.
Well, some of these plants as well, if you buy them now, will they work in, say, your backyard greenhouse to keep them there for a few weeks?
100%, yes. Yeah, so if you've got an area that is going to be protected from frost, even with a small heater or even a shelter for minimal amounts of frost, yes, these plants will grow very nicely in there.
All right, Chad, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate all the color in here.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Riley is back. And Riley, in your first forecast, we did see that minus sign still in there. So a little too early, maybe. Are we going to be seeing some frost?
A little bit too early. Let's look at some of the data from past years, past decades, in terms of when we usually see that average last freeze across our province anyway. So if we kind of advance the months here, yes, we're, as Chad said there, usually about May long weekend is when it's safe to start planting things in the garden. And yes, according to the historical data, late May is when we usually see our last freeze throughout southern Manitoba. Could see even into the Swan River Dauphin region late May and even into June in parts of northern Manitoba. So yes, still a little bit early yet. And if we look at some of the projected nightly lows for the next week, yes, I did put that minus in for early Sunday morning, dancing around freezing for the next week. But looking at some of the longer range modeling, it looks like we could be in for a return to maybe some more temperatures below the freezing mark. A ways out yet, but still just putting that on the radar. Dog walking forecast, a lot more pleasant tomorrow than it was today, especially for Sasha and Mabel. I'm not sure which one is which, but I think they'd both like a walk outside. Looking at a high of 9 tomorrow, so a bit on the below normal side. But nonetheless, a lot sunnier by the time we get to the later afternoon. Talk back at cbc.ca is where you can send your pet photos to. And as I mentioned last night, especially if you have any of your dog or your pet in whiteout gear, please send those my way because I would love to show those next week. Right now, 9 degrees in Portage and Brandon, 11 in Melita, 8 in Winnipeg. We did start the day at about 12, 13 degrees, and we've seen temperatures really sink, minus 8 in both Dooley Lake and Churchill. So yes, we've been stuck under this cloud cover. Clearing sky through the overnight period tonight through southwestern Manitoba, close to the freezing mark overnight tonight through Verdon and Brandon, with a few scattered showers continuing through the evening. Showers continue into the overnight period for the Red River Valley, down to 5 degrees overnight in Winnipeg, but 2s for Ericsdale and Victoria Beach, 3 in Gimli. And seeing temperatures dip below 0 for northern Manitoba, minus 7 overnight in Thompson, minus 17 tonight in Churchill. For tomorrow, mainly sunny skies across northern Manitoba, so a bright sunny day. 3s for Flin Flon, the Pas, Grand Rapids, Norway House, below 0. Further to the north and to the east you go, getting up to a high of about minus 8 or so in Churchill by the afternoon tomorrow. Yes, first thing in the morning, a chance we could see some scattered showers through southeastern Manitoba into the Winnipeg region, and we're looking at temperatures warming up as we see sunnier conditions, Brittany, into the later day.
Riley.
You're welcome.
Millions of people are in the grip of a deadly heat wave across South and Southeast Asia. Temperatures higher than 50 degrees Celsius with the humidex are being felt in some areas, shutting down schools and threatening public health. And a new report says Asia remained the world's most disaster-hit region from weather and climate hazards in 2023. CBC's Jill English has more.
In Bangkok, ice is piled high on a trolley and sent to market, a coveted commodity in a devastating heat wave. Soaring temperatures reaching upwards of 45 degrees Celsius, feeling as high as 52 because of the compounding humidity. Sometimes I feel dizzy, says this Thai woman. The ice water helps. West of Thailand, the same heat wave hovers over the world's largest ever national election. The most determined voters stand to cast their ballots for the next Indian prime minister. This polling officer says due to heat, turnout so far is low. And earlier this week, this politician fainted while giving a campaign speech. The heat can be tied to the ongoing El Niño pattern that boosts temperatures, but it is exacerbated by the fossil fuel and land use emissions that cause climate change, say experts.
We're seeing temperature attribution that indicates that in many of these locations, those temperatures are made 4 or 5 times more likely by the influence of climate change.
Recent global temperatures have baffled the scientific community month after month. But projections show extreme weather like heat waves is here to stay.
We expect this to continue and these events to last longer and become more intense. And that means the human health impact is only expected to become more severe.
In Bangladesh, no school this week, canceled because of the heat, but homes without air conditioning don't offer much reprieve. Our sleep is disturbed after 2 or 3 hours. It feels really bad, says this 13-year-old. Tired, the focus is on hydration and shade. Eyes across the region set on June, when the hot season will be behind them. Jill English, CBC News, Toronto.
A Winnipeg tattoo removal technician is helping ex-gang members get a fresh start and escape their former lifestyles. She's not only helping them build a new life, but new and healthy relationships. More on that straight ahead.
The Jeep No Limits event is here, which means more
Tattoos can hold a lot of significance, but for some, they're a reminder of a past life they're trying to leave behind. Mother Inc. is a local tattoo removal shop. They help former gang members, people who worked in sex trade, and people coming out of custody remove their tattoos. But now they're going into the jails to help people before they're released. Owner Della Stanke spoke with Marcy Marcusa on Information Radio this morning.
About 8 or 9 years ago, I was working in a federal halfway house, and I noticed, I was already doing tattoo removal. I'd already been trained only months before. But then I had I had several guys come in, actually, who didn't even want to leave the yard. They actually were scared to leave the yard because it was a safety thing more for them. They were scared about getting jumped either back into their old gang or into a new gang. And so, it was something that I just thought, well, maybe I could help them. And I asked some of the bosses, and I just said, after hours, can I take them? I won't charge them anything or anything like that. And they said, yeah, that would be great. And then parole and probation would be in our house all the time, and they would come and talk to me and say, well, you did this for one, can you do this for, and yeah, absolutely. And then I sort of thought that this was going to be my future because I could see it getting so busy so fast and just sort of taking off from there. I continued to work at the halfway house, but funded this program through my wages and everything, and did it for nothing for probably between 300 and 400 ex-gang members within 8 years.
Wow! So some of that we were talking about the personal sort of how you identify as yourself and seeing a piece of your past, literally being removed off your body. But some of it is also then safety if you're back out there and being identified in that way physically, that you still would be part of whatever gang it is.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely.
800? You said 600 or 800 removals?
Well, I've done, at that point in time, I was between 300 and 400.
3 and 4, sorry.
Now I would easily say probably around 600.
Yeah. So now, what does it feel like to have this evolve, and now you're able to go into jails to do this?
It's amazing. For 8 years, like I said, I was trying because I knew every single one of them that would come out would say, I just wish this would go faster. I need to get a house. I need to get a job. And people look at my face or my neck or anything. They recognize gang signs and they turn me down for jobs and everything. It's very easy for them to fall back into their past when they're being turned down. They're trying to change. They're doing everything in the right way to change, except people aren't giving them a chance because of the way they look.
You also are looking to expand these services. You've talked to some chiefs on reserves in Manitoba who's actually expressed a desire to have you expand the services, I should say, to communities. So tell me a little bit about that initiative.
Actually, I thought about, I always want this project to move forward. I mean, it's been going so great and it's so busy and everything else, but I always know that there's more that can be done. So probably about a year ago, I contacted different automotive dealerships here in Winnipeg, and Dillon Automotive actually very graciously had me come down there, and they are actually willing to donate me a vehicle if I can come up with just some of the costs. Not only are they going to donate the vehicle, but they're actually going to help me get it renovated so I can live in that vehicle. It's going to be like a van. And then I'm going to be here 20 days out of the month doing the prisons and my clients that I do in shop, and going on the road 10 days out of the month and trying to get to all the reserves that I can possibly get to 10 days a month. So
it's really important, the work that you're doing.
Thank you.
Tell me just last, when you're finished the process and somebody is finished it, you talked about that moment, but do you ever stay in touch with people? Do they ever say to you,
Hundreds of them.
Yeah.
I get invited to weddings, baby showers, gender reveals. They call me when they got their first house, their first job, anything. It's just my kids all complain because they say she used to have 3 kids and now she has a few hundred. And that's exactly the way it is. And
you change their lives, though.
That's right. And even if they do end up falling back into the life, they still keep in touch with me. I have calls daily from all the prisons, including even New Brunswick and Edmonton, where some of my guys have ended up, and they say they want to change again. They, and everything. And I have phone calls all day long, right until midnight.
A rainy day in southern Manitoba. Riley Lachuk is back with your last check on your weekend forecast. Stay with us.
Well, a quick look at live radar as we head into the evening hours. Yes, we're still seeing some rain falling across the Red River Valley, even back to the west. Brandon kind of right on the edge of the rainfall right now. And yes, even some heavier pockets still into the Interlake and into parts of eastern Manitoba. We'll see that taper off as we get into the overnight hours, into the early morning. So still a few scattered showers first thing in the morning. 6 degrees in Winnipeg. North winds gusting to 40. We see those winds picking up 30, gusting 50 by the time we hit the afternoon. And yes, a below seasonal 9 degrees for our high on Saturday and Sunday as well. We'll still see some of those gusty northeast winds through Sunday, and then we start to see cloud building in for Monday with some showers, a high of 7 degrees. And we see a sunnier start to May, 13 for Wednesday, 16 for Thursday, and 13 for Friday. Well, a young killer whale that was trapped for more than a month in a BC lagoon is finally free.
Her rescue is tonight's Daily Lift. Quisahayas, or Little Hunter, had been bottlenecked by a sandbar. The local First Nations leading the rescue say the orca swam over it on her own this morning at high tide. They say the team is ecstatic, although she still has to reach open ocean.
Now, the calf has been trapped in the lagoon since March the 23rd when her pregnant mother was beached and died at low tide. The team is now encouraging her out toward the ocean, where it's hoped that she'll be able to reconnect with her family pod.
Look at that. You just want to say, swim, baby, swim.
Yes. Exactly.
Get her out there. Well, tonight, Colorado, Winnipeg, in Colorado, 9 o'clock start time. That series tied at 1-1.
1-1. That game, of course, on CBC Television and CBC Gem in 2 hours and 10 seconds.
Down to the second. Good night. We'll see you back here next week.
Everyone.